What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report mailbag time. I'm answering questions from our live show, which airs Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So, our first question coming in from the Pickle Rick. Will the Browns explore a Davante Adams trade? I'm filming this on Monday, so maybe some things have changed until between now and when this video goes out. But the context here is, if you guys didn't see, Antonio Pierce, after the Raiders lost to the Panthers in Week 3, said there are people out there making business decisions, and we're going to have to make some business decisions of our own. And a lot of people were trying to speculate who was he basically saying did not give 100% effort, and they might decide to move on from. Davante Adams was a name that came up many times when trying to, sleuth out who is Antonio Pierce talking about here. I feel like Davante Adams is trying very hard for people to believe he doesn't want to get traded, but deep down, if you gave him some truth serum, he would want to get traded. Now, is that going to be to the Browns? Very unlikely. The only reason why I would even consider it as a remote possibility is the Browns did need a receiver. We thought they didn't when they were invested in trying to get Brandon Ayuk. What if they decide, you know what, our solution to the offensive, sluggishness to open up the year is we're going to pour on more talent, right? More cowbell, more talent, and that's going to be our way out of this. And would anyone put it past Andrew Berry to at least make a call? I surely wouldn't. So if you guys want to trade for Davante Adams, let me know in the comment section. I don't think the Browns are ultimately going to bark up this tree enough to be legitimate contenders, but Andrew Berry is a trade addict, and I wouldn't be shocked if Adams were to be available. He at least inquires and decides this is going to be our way out of a slow start offensively. Although, if you want to get out of that, I think it's got to start at the offensive line, not the receiver room. Joshua Miller. Are we now one of the 5 worst offensive lines in the league? Bad offensive line play that comes to my head initially. The Browns through the first 3 weeks. The Bears. I'm trying to just go around the league a little bit quickly. But I would say through weeks 1 through 3, the Browns have been bottom 5. I'd be hard-pressed to find 5 worst teams just knowing how bad the Browns' offensive line has been. All I can hope for is they just start to get healthy. And that doesn't seem to be happening because look how they ended last week. Joel Petonio at left tackle. Ethan Posick going from center to guard. Nick Harris filling in at center. Zach Zinter filling in for Wyatt Teller at right guard. DeJuan Jones, who we thought would be I wouldn't say saving grace, but the guy that holds down the fort until Conklin and/or Wills returns, has quietly not even quietly, he's just completely regressed from last year. He's a turnstile. So yeah, Josh, I'd say so. I would say the Browns have a bottom 5 offensive line right now, which is just mind-blowing to me. Ben Broski, why is the media trying to bring Bryce Young to Cleveland? I think there are certain people that believe the Browns are a good fit for Bryce Young because they have determined Deshaun Watson is not a fit or a long-term quarterback for this team, and they just see Bryce Young as an option for Cleveland. That's a team that is always interested in acquiring talented players or making moves, right? If you're thinking about teams likely just to make a trade, the Browns are towards the top of the list. The people that say that, I don't think actually watch the Browns games, and what they really do is they just come away with the impressions they get of the bad clips from Twitter of Deshaun Watson without ever noticing, well, maybe all the drops and the 45 pressures through 3 weeks aren't entirely on Deshaun Watson. Not that he is completely off scot-free, but you put Bryce Young behind that offensive line, it's going to be 10 times worse. Ben, thank you so much for your question. Hope I was able to answer it to the fullest. Ya boy Ham, any quarterback would have failed behind that line. Every week it's something else. What can we even do? This is something where I don't think it's a personnel, maybe it's a personnel change, but I think it's mostly just internally. The Browns have to have a great week of practice and kind of get their shit together. Pardon my French, but like that to me is the solution here. The offensive line just has to come in fired up and pissed off about the way they played so far and just start to really turn it around. We see it in sports. We see it every year in the NFL. Teams get off to a great start, teams get off to a bad start, and they just kind of flip a switch and turn it around. This is one of those reminders where, not to like poo-poo on the nerds and the analytics people, but like football is played on a gridiron, not on a spreadsheet. And these are athletes. And athletes have good days and bad days. Right now, they're having a lot of bad days in Cleveland. Doesn't mean they can't start to turn it around, though. Coaching, game plan, practice, install, all of it just needs to get better. And they're a professional group that is capable of doing that. We just got to wait and see it. Cameron, do you think Deshaun is going to play better this weekend? I think Watson has played better as the weeks have gone on this season. Like, as crazy as that might sound, just look at the numbers from week 1 to week 3. Like, if you just want to go off the box score, which I don't recommend doing, but if you want to take the most simplistic approach to it, guys and girls, what is the best week we're seeing here? I would say week 3. 196 yards, most of all 3. 2 touchdowns, most of all 3. So, Watson has been, I think, improving week after week. And hopefully with the Raiders coming off a really embarrassing home loss to the Panthers where Andy Dalton completely torched them, the Browns can look at it as blood in the water and really capitalize on it. So, yeah, Cam, I think Watson will play better in week 4 against the Raiders. Jacob Kistner. Does Andrew Berry make a big splash at or before the trade deadline, couple small moves, or stay pat? If you remember, the Browns last year had their bye going into, what was it? They played weeks 1, 2. They played the week 1 against the, it's escaping me, but they won week 1 last year, and then Bengals, and then they had week 2 against the Steelers, and then they had the Titans, and then they had the Ravens. So they had their bye in week 5. And Andrew Berry did one of his, every quarterly press conferences. And during that, they said, when asked about trades, because the trade deadline was coming up, they said they had to wait a little bit longer to have a better roster understanding of their team. So my guess is we can't say definitively one way or the other. I'm sure he would like to improve on the offensive line. You don't often see offensive linemen traded. I remember Ezra Cleveland got traded from the Vikings to the Jags, but outside of that, that's not a position group that gets dealt very often. So if there's a team willing to trade a good offensive lineman, that would be a move I could see the Browns making. But as of right now, I would say a couple of small moves. Time Lord, is Jed Wills done? No, I don't think Jed Wills is done. I think it's his first game back after not playing since November of last year. If he's still healthy, because he did pick up that knee injury in the loss against the Giants, I think there's going to be a longer leash and a little bit more patience and understanding that he's going to work his way back into things. Now, I still don't think Jed Wills is a long-term solution at left tackle. I've never really seen it all the way to that extent. I think Jed Wills is an average left tackle. I think he is serviceable. I think he's a starter in the NFL. I don't think he's someone that will ever make a Pro Bowl or will ever be a fan favorite, build a statue, that type of guy. That's a high bar to reach, and that's kind of unfair to place on him. But I think Jed Wills, after one game, should not be crucified or just deemed done. It's his first game back since November. Let's give it some more time. Last question coming in from Excellent Gamer. Do you think the Browns should trade for a running back like Brian Robinson? Let's wait and see when Nick Chubb's returning, right? I mean, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to give up an asset, a draft pick, for a position like running back if you're planning to get a running back like Nick Chubb back. If they feel like Nick Chubb is nowhere near returning, then okay, we can have that conversation later on. But for now, I don't think the Browns are rushing to give up assets for a position group that they already added to in free agency, Deontay Foreman, and they expect to get a guy like Nick Chubb back sometime this season. So if the window for Brian Robinson is like If they don't make the trade for another 2 weeks and he comes and Chubb returns in 5 weeks, is a draft pick worth 3 weeks of Brian Robinson? Probably not. I do appreciate the question, though, and we'll have to wait and see if the Commanders are even interested in dealing their running back with their young rookie quarterback. So who you got for Sunday, Browns or Raiders? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't be afraid to shoot your shot. I'm going with the Brownies still.